Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm so glad you're here today because we are diving headfirst into a massive, incredibly tangled controversy that has basically hijacked the entire news cycle around India's CBSE board exams this year. We're going to do a comprehensive deep dive into exactly what went wrong, the tech that was supposed to save the day, the heartbreaking human stories, and the intense legal battles unfolding right now. We are going to break the whole thing down step by step so you can get a really clear picture of the mechanics behind all this chaos.
All right, let's kick things off with a statistic that's going to make your jaw drop. 85.29%. That is the Class 12 pass percentage for 2026. Now, on its own, sure, it just looks like a number. But when you compare it to the previous year's pass percentage, which was 88.39%, you are looking at a huge, sudden drop. I mean, in a system as vast as the CBSE, a drop of over 3% literally translates to hundreds of thousands of students whose academic trajectories just got completely derailed overnight. But hey, it's not just about the numbers, right? There is a very real human cost behind that percentage drop. Take Moksh, a Class 12 student. He told reporters, "My future is dark. My score was 33 out of 80. The answer book was unfamiliar. Entire sections were blank." Seriously, imagine working tirelessly for your final exams, only to open up a scan of an answer book that doesn't even look like yours, with entire sections of your hard work just gone. Poof, blank. College dreams are literally being shattered by what appear to be totally inexplicable grading errors. So to truly grasp how we got to this point, here is our roadmap. Today, we're covering the grading chaos, how OSM actually works, a timeline of this rushed rollout, the teacher struggles, the legal battles, and finally, the global context. Okay, let's jump right into the immediate fallout with Part 1, the grading chaos, and how it left college dreams completely in limbo.
When these results dropped, it was front-page news everywhere. Absolute unprecedented panic set in instantly. Students were frantically rushing online to apply for reevaluations, but, you guessed it, when they tried to actually access their digitally scanned answer sheets, the portals just crashed. They were left staring at malfunctioning loading screens instead of their own exam papers.
Now, you might be wondering, why is this delay such a massive deal? Well, it's because this isn't just about fighting for a couple of extra points for your ego. Strict, completely immovable college admission deadlines for highly competitive programs like the JEE or various B-Tech and B-Arch programs, they wait for absolutely no one. These students are completely stranded. If a reevaluation doesn't come through before those university admission windows slam shut, they could literally lose an entire academic year. So, to understand these glitches, we really need to look at the technology itself. That brings us to Part 2, how OSM actually works. The tech at the center of this whole storm is OSM, which stands for on-screen marking. Let's teach the jargon for a second. Basically, instead of packing up and shipping thousands of physical paper booklets to teachers all over the country, the system scans the physical books. It anonymizes them, so it strips away the student's identity to prevent any bias, and then the examiners grade them digitally on a secure platform. The original and honestly very noble goal here was to completely eliminate regional grading variations and really tighten up the monitoring of evaluators. Here's how it's supposed to work in 4 easy steps. Step 1, you write your exam at your center. Step 2, those booklets get securely trucked over to regional offices where they are scanned into the system. Step 3, examiners log in and mark the scanned images right there on their computer screens. And Step 4, the marks automatically tally up and get submitted into the digital database, which theoretically wipes out human addition errors. Sounds like a wonderfully efficient dream on paper, doesn't it? But as we all know, efficiency takes a lot of time to perfect. Let's move to Part 3, a rushed rollout, and look at the timeline leading up to 2026. What's wild about this is how fast it all happened at the end. The board actually experimented with this way back in 2013 and 2014, but they hit massive structural roadblocks and had to scrap it. Fast forward to 2024-25, they proposed a pilot program just for small volume subjects to test the waters. But then, suddenly, in 2026, boom, full-scale implementation across 116 subjects. Going from a tiny pilot to 116 subjects at the mind-boggling scale of the Indian education system in that short of a window, it definitely raises some serious questions about whether anyone was actually prepared for this. And if you want the answer to whether they were prepared, just ask the people grading the tests. Part 4, the teacher's struggles, looks at the human cost of this tech.
The list of grievances from the evaluators is honestly overwhelming. For starters, teachers were reportedly given just a half-day training session to master this completely brand new, high-stakes software. And once it went live, total chaos. Widespread technical glitches meant marks just wouldn't tally. Sometimes entirely blank answer books would pop up on their screens. Plus, you have evaluators dealing with severe eye strain from staring at glowing monitors for 8+ hours a day, just trying to hit their quotas. And let's not forget, many of these are older, highly experienced subject matter experts who suddenly found themselves struggling with the basic computer literacy needed to even navigate this buggy system.
Just listen to what one evaluator had to say. It really paints a picture of an overwhelmed workforce. They said, "I was not able to correct more than 10 sheets. I felt exhausted, irritated, fatigued, and under pressure." Think about that. When the actual humans responsible for carefully judging a kid's entire year of hard work are exhausted and they're fighting the software instead of reading the answers, the quality of the grading is obviously going to tank. So with students failing and teachers completely burnt out, it's turned into a massive standoff. Part 5, Legal Battles and Defenses. Who is actually to blame here? We are looking at two totally different stories here. On one side, the teachers are holding firm. The system was incredibly rushed, the software was deeply flawed, and those blank screens and untallied marks, completely out of their control. On the flip side, the CBSE is super defensive. They maintain the system is secure, any errors are strictly human errors by individual evaluators who just didn't use the system properly, and that all these malicious rumors are totally blowing the issue out of proportion. But regardless of who is actually right, the legal machinery is already in motion. Frustrated parents and students have filed petitions in both the Allahabad and Delhi high courts. And here's an interesting twist. Despite defending the system publicly, the CBSE actually admitted to identifying 5,000 blurred answer book scans. That proves that step 2 of their process, the scanning, absolutely had major flaws. The board is even reportedly looking at slapping a financial penalty on the IT vendor, Coept Edutech Private Limited. Meanwhile, they've been scrambling behind the scenes to lock down system security with OTPs to stop unauthorized access. All of this honestly begs a really big question. Is on-screen marking just a terrible idea? Let's zoom out for Part 6, the global context. Believe it or not, OSM isn't some universally failed experiment. Far from it. Major, incredibly respected international education bodies like the AQA and Pearson Edexcel over in the UK and the International Baccalaureate, or IB, they rely heavily on digital evaluation, and they do it really successfully. They actually use it because it gives them strict, real-time quality control over their examiners. There's this great quote from Edward Vickers, an expert over at Fukuoka University, that hits the nail on the head. He points out, the real question with the Indian system and this current scandal is maybe not the system or the idea behind it, but the practicalities. So the core idea of digital marking, it's solid. The real disaster here was entirely about how it was practically executed on the ground in India. And when you look at the practical differences, it's like comparing apples to an entire orchard. The UK and IB systems, they operate at a manageable scale, and their exams use a lot of short-form written responses. Those are super easy to read and grade quickly on a screen. But the Indian CBSE system, the scale is just unfathomable. We're talking about 8.56 lakh books. That is over 850,000 physical answer books that needed to be scanned and graded in just one single subject. Plus, Indian exams heavily rely on really long-form, multi-page essay responses. Trying to read deep nuance into a massive handwritten essay while squinting at a buggy screen for 8 hours, it's incredibly tedious and practically begging for mistakes. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this whole wild controversy. As we look at the future of these massive public systems, it forces us to ask a really deeply provocative question. In our rush for technological efficiency, did we actually upgrade the education system, or did we just manage to digitize human error at an absolutely unprecedented scale? Think about that for a bit. Thank you guys so much for joining me to unpack this incredibly important explainer today. See you next time.